All right. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Darrel Long channel, hosted by your boy Darrel Long. You already know why I'm here. I'm here to break down a video of Charlie Kirk, of a young man who was basically destroying Charlie Kirk in a debate. All right. Let me get my background, music ready because I was going to do this in a pre-recording. I had no intentions at all on going live because it's Juneteenth and I'm about to be outside working. You understand me? Getting money and focus on taking care of my family. But I didn't want to be lazy, and I wanted to really get this video done, right? So let's focus on Charlie Kirk and how Charlie Kirk was wrong, right? Let's sit here and really break down the whole situation, right? So let me go to the video. I gotta make sure I have the video ready. And I got my script ready at all times. I got too many damn tabs open. And make sure you guys are hitting the like button as you all come in here. All right. And if you're watching this later on, make sure you hit the hype me up button. All right. Make sure you definitely hit the hype me up button. Where is the one that I need? It's here. Let me push this over here. Let me go get the video that I need. All right, perfect. I didn't listen. You guys gotta know. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like editing. I hate editing. So, I've gotten out of the process of editing for a very long time, and I don't plan on going back to it. But I have to because I gotta get better as a content creator again. So, here we are. Let me put this over here because that don't have to be my full screen. There we go. That's actually what I need right there. And I need my timestamp, 7 minutes. I'm probably gonna put this on members only and then actually edit the actual clip. What's up, Meals? What's up, bro? I need timestamp 7:28 to 8:35. All right, 7:26. Let's start right here.
Our system is
perfect. Because my script is already prepared. All right. So let's do the voiceover first. All right. So a college kid walks up to a microphone, no notes, no team, in about 8 minutes. And in about 8 minutes, he says one true thing that Charlie Kirk could not answer. So what's the next best thing for Charlie Kirk to do? He told the young man to calm down.
No, what I'm saying, though, that's an under-enforcement of laws, though.
Yeah, because our system is terrible.
No, I know, but you said we have an over-enforcement. I don't think we have enough people in jail.
You don't think we have enough people?
No, like I said, half of all murderers walk free. We don't even know who they are.
Okay, but I sure, whatever. But I'm talking, I don't think that, I don't think that black people are as, more than 50% of exonerations from prison are black people. Like, a black person is more likely than any other race to be tried for a crime that they did not commit and then to be released from prison for a crime that they did not commit.
That's not totally true. Let's pretend that it is. It's because they're in front of the justice system more because of the high crime. But let's try to find some agreement.
I'm talking percentages of exonerations.
No, it's because they're in the system more, though. It's because you have more cases. But anyway, let's pretend that's true. Let's pretend the system's totally racist.
Actually, there's more white people in the system because white people make up
no, for sure.
So you're just incorrect there, right? Like you're doing to me.
But they don't commit as many crimes.
Okay, so let's be cordial. Let's be cordial.
You're not being, so let's calm down a little bit, okay?
You're not being.
Am I being sweet to this guy?
Okay,
but all right. Let me ask you one question in closing, though. If you could, okay, if you could say to Black America, here is more money, more stuff, more housing, or more fathers, which one would you choose?
So we have to really break down who won and who lost this debate. Okay, we have to really break down who won, who lost this debate. I'm not going to be here all day. We're not going to be just vibing today. It's Juneteenth, and my work today is exposing the fact that Charlie Kirk did not know what the fuck he was talking about. Right? We're going to be fact checking every stat in the video, every time he dodged accountability with sources on the screen. So, with that being said, let's actually begin the show.
Welcome to the Darrel Long Show, bringing you the best in commentary, vlogs, video essays, and reactions.
Everybody says, who does he think he is? I just told you who I thought I was, a god.
Y'all know what it is, man. Welcome back to the show, Simp God. So let's start off with the setup. We have Charlie Kirk. He opens with this smooth type of demeanor, right? He says, hey, take a deep breath, kid, and let me make this argument for you, right? So I want to show you guys that. Before I even keep going, I want to show you guys the fact that Charlie Kirk, right, told this kid in the first minute of the video, allow me to make this argument for you, then I'm going to come back. Let's go.
Right? So when segregation ended, right, Black people, or when slavery ended, actually, Black people were just forced wherever, right? So they had nowhere to go. And then there was laws put in place to put them into prison. And after...
It's okay. No. What's your name? Guys, what's your name? Jackson. It takes a lot of courage to come up here.
Yeah, no,
let's just take a deep breath. I'm not here to pick on you.
No,
I appreciate it. No, it's okay. I know this can be very intimidating getting to a crowd like this. So just take a deep breath. Let me make your argument. I'm going to make your argument for you, and I'm going to tell you why I think it's wrong. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the argument that is being made that you want to make is that there's legacies of injustice.
Yes.
And that those legacies impact one generation after the other. And when those things get handed down, you have what is a system or a systemic issue that isn't just isolated in 2024. So the argument that you're making is that what happened in 1954 does impact 2024 of decade after decade after decade. Let me tell you my response to that. Of course, there is some truth to that. However, every culture, every person in this audience can point to issues that families or generations.
Now, before I keep going and allow Mr. Kirk to finish, because I do have my notes here, I want to pump the brakes and let's stop right there. That's the entire game that the conservatives play. When you allow your opponent to restate your argument or create your argument, you allow your opponent to pick the weakest version of your argument, and that is going to be the version of your argument that they get to knock down, right? They're going to straw man your argument. They do this all the time in YouTube. They straw man people arguments. So I think that was the first thing that I didn't like upon reviewing the video, that we have Charlie Kirk making this argument for the young man. Never allow your opponent ever to make your point for you. The student's real point was simple. The harm from slavery and Jim Crow compounds across generations, right? Charlie Kirk says, and I'll be fair, of course, there is some truth to that, right? Good. I'm glad that Charlie Kirk agreed. But hold on to that sentence. He's going to spend the next 9 minutes acting like he never said that at all, right? Let's go back to the timestamp 141, right? Right here. Let's go.
So what happened in 1964 is that 25% of Black youth were raised by a single mom. Today, it's nearly 75%, about 70%. So that means that 1 in 4 Black kids will have a father around. Only 1 in 4. That's the number one issue happening in the country, and it's not because of systemic racism. I'd like to hear what you have to say about that.
Okay, so I think I misjudged you.
So you heard the argument, right? You heard the argument. His headline number 25 to 75, right? One in only 4 black kids will have a father around. That is his headline. That is his argument. He says that in 1964, 25% of black kids were raised by a single mom. And Charlie also goes on to say that today, that number has went up to 75%. So quote, and this is what he says, Charlie Kirk is saying only 1 in 4 black kids will have a father around, right? Right?
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
Now, on the surface, when you look at that situation, it does sound devastating, but it's also not what the data says, right? Here's the sleight of hand. The 70-something% number is births to unmarried mothers. Unmarried mothers does not mean fatherless, right? Again, let me state that again. The 70-something% percentage, roughly 75% of births happen to unmarried mothers. It does not mean that the father is not in that child's life. A whole lot of those parents may live together. They just don't have a marriage license, like Sharon Bracey. When you actually count on how, when you actually look at the numbers and count how many black kids live in a home, the Census Bureau based numbers, right? If you look at those numbers, the census says about 37% of those children live with both biological parents, and roughly 48% live with a single parent. Not 25%, not 1 in every 4 children are living without a father. That is the first lie of the video that Charlie Kirk has put out, okay? And this isn't me nitpicking, right? Fact checkers can flag this exact swap, right? Confusing born to unmarried mothers with raised by single parent homes. And those are 2 completely different situations. Born to an unmarried mother does not mean that you were raised by a single mother in a single parent home. That's where the conflation and the confusion comes from. So the foundation of Charlie Kirk's entire argument is a number that has been quietly inflated, specifically by conservatives and racists. Everything he stacks on top of it is leaning towards that way. It has no foundation. Now, the next part of my segment I want to go into is Charlie Kirk began to talk about why black people couldn't overcome, why they just didn't overcome, right? That's Charlie Kirk's favorite pivot. Every group faced hardship. Why didn't Black America bounce back? Let's go to timestamp 111 and go and get that real quick.
That families or generations prior had that were able to overcome. So the question is, why is it that Black America is one of the only populations, that and Native American populations, that have not been able to overcome such evil, horrors, and injustices? Here's my perspective, and I want to hear what you have to say, is that the number one way to keep people out of poverty, lower the crime rate, and have a better society is whether or not you have a mom and a dad around, which we agree that's an ideal. Yeah? Cool.
Yeah.
So again, when Charlie is saying every group in America have faced hardship, why didn't Black America just bounce back, right? We have to watch the timeline that Charlie is picking, right? Charlie starts the clock at 1964. Why? Because when you start the clock at 1964, it allows him to skip the part that actually explains everything, right? You see, redlining maps were drawn in the 1930s. The Fair Housing Act, which was the law that made housing discrimination illegal, that was 1968. Mass incarceration didn't peak until the 2000s. The collapse that Charlie Kirk is describing tracks factories closing and the drug war filling prisons full of black men. That's not the culture that we should be talking about. That's a series of racism, policies, police brutality, all these different things line up. And he picked the one starting line that erases all of that. And I think that's the problem with Charlie Kirk. They always start in the 1960s. Why not start when slavery happened? Why not start with the fact that black men and black women were seen as 3/5 of human? Let's get back to the video, because at some point, Charlie is going to blame the men he just said were locked up. Charlie just said those men were locked up, right? Now, let me go to timestamp 5 minutes and 54 seconds, where Charlie says, quote, "These fathers are ending up in prison." And then Kirk says, no, sorry, the student says to Charlie, the dads are going to prison. And Charlie Kirk says, why are they going to prisons? Because black men commit crimes. So now it's about black men committing crimes at a higher level than anybody else, which is not true. There's more white men in jail than any other race of males. But let's go to that timestamp real quick. Right here.
I grew up around a lot of white people, so I can't
All right,
say.
okay.
Like,
well, so, but it is a fact that it is
sure.
accepted, right? So that's the problem. The
I'm just
problem
saying,
is that it's a cultural norm that has then turned into the cycle of poverty. The cycle of poverty can break very quickly if fathers stayed with the women they impregnate.
But most of these fathers aren't just leaving. A large majority of these fathers are ending up in prison. Like,
Okay,
this is
good point. Why do you go to prison?
because you commit crimes. But
because
the prison system has been targeted against minorities.
Again, we're not going to agree here,
right,
and that's okay.
Yeah,
there's actually under enforcement of the laws when it comes where there's, for example, only half of murders in Chicago get solved.
And this is where it gets very interesting, because the student makes a very, 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 to be honest, valid point. A lot of fathers are not simply running away from being fathers, especially if you look at, let's say, New York, when they were doing the 3 strikes and you're out. You look at different places where it was extremely police. They were being pushed into prisons, right? That's just a fact. Charlie Kirk in the video, he agrees. He says, good point. But then he immediately says, well, why are they in prison? Because they are committing crimes, which for the most part is true. We can't take that away. But you have to see the contradiction. You can't spend 5 minutes saying black men abandon their children, then admit the system is removing them, and then going back to blaming them for being the reason that they're gone. You have to pick an argument, right? And here's the part that when I'm really watching Charlie and I'm rewatching his content and Kevin Samuels' content, a lot of these guys talk about the father being removed. Some of those fathers were not removed. A lot of people had their father in their lives and they still chose to do things that were just awful. That's just the facts. We can't blame everything in the black community on the father not being in their lives, but somebody like Charlie, who I believed was a racist, I think he is hanging his hat on that because he saw black men as inferiors. So when you get the timestamp 7 minutes and 41 seconds, the student began to talk about exonerations, right? The student that Charlie is speaking with, he begins to talk about how half of the people who are exonerated are black people, which will have to mean that a lot of these individuals who are going to jail are not actually committing these crimes. I'm not sure if y'all knew that, but half of the exonerations come from black people. Let's get into the video. Oh, 7 minutes.
Right.
Hold on. 7 minutes 41. Here.
Okay, but and I sure, whatever, but I'm talking, I don't think that I don't think that black people are as like more than 50% of exonerations from prison are black people. Like a black person is more likely than any other race to be tried for a crime that they did not commit and then to be released from prison for a crime that they did not commit.
That's not totally true. Let's pretend that it is. It's because they're in front of the justice system more because of the high crime. But let's try to find some agreement.
I'm talking percentages of exonerations.
No, it's because they're in the system more though. It's because you have more cases. But anyway, let's pretend
that's not true. You can't have more cases, Charlie, because there's more white men in jail now. So there's not more cases. That's not true. And easily, again, Charlie responds as simply, that's not true, but let's pretend that it is. No, we're not going to pretend. We're going to check, okay? One, Black Americans equals about 13% of the population, but 53% of all exonerations since 1989 have been African Americans, which is 7 times more than any other race. Black people, again, are 7 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of a serious crime, 7.5 more times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of murder specifically. And this directly is coming from the National Registry of Exonerations, which is public information. If you guys want to go look into that, they have a lot of stuff that's just public information, people names everywhere, public information, addresses. But yeah, if you go to like the National Registry of Exonerations, it'll tell you all about this, right? The student wasn't he wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. It was dead fucking accurate. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to curse in these videos, but he couldn't be more right, bro. Black men, and y'all know I'm the simp guy, and I stick up for women all the time. But it's hard sometimes being a black man and being a father and having sons, knowing that most of the fucking exonerations are black men. We're 7 times more likely to be convicted for a murder that we didn't even do, like Carmelo Anthony. Just like Carmelo Anthony. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to stay on point. I wasn't supposed to bring him up in this video, but he just been on my mind. And when you get further on in the video, what does Charlie Kirk do when the kid is right and won't back off? He doesn't bring a counter stat. He goes, let's be cordial, calm down a bit. So he's making it seem like the young man is being hostile, and instead of just genuinely having a conversation, let's watch a little bit more of it.
Right. Let's pretend the system's totally racist.
Actually, there's more white people in the system because white people make up
no, for sure.
So you're just incorrect there, right? Like you're doing to me.
But they don't commit as many crimes.
Okay, so let's be cordial. Let's be cordial.
You're not being, so let's calm down a little bit, okay?
You're not being.
Am I being sweet to this guy?
Okay, but
in this clip that I just showed you guys, Charlie Kirk did not check the fact. Charlie Kirk did not check the fact that black people are exonerated more. He threw out some bullshit. And even worse, he tried to police that young man's tone. Let's be cordial, calm down. And that tells you everything that you have to know about these conservative white males. When somebody has the numbers, when you answer the numbers with stats and facts, they don't have an answer for you. They want to police your tone. Right? When you don't, they make it about how loud you're being and how uneducated you are and how low IQ you are. Charlie Kirk lost that exchange, and he tried to change the subject to this young man in college and his attitude and him being cordial. This is the same bullshit. I shouldn't be cursing. I'm so sorry. This is the same thing that the young men in the manosphere, this is what they do when women come with stats. They try to police their tones. They try to police their attitudes. This is nothing more than a tactic to shame someone. And then when you move further on in the video, guys, and I'm gonna put the video in the comments below, and I couldn't show everything because I'll get copyrighted by Charlie Kirk people. But when he handed over the evidence, and Charlie Kirk didn't even notice this, right? So I have to go to timestamp 6 minutes and 18 seconds, where Charlie Kirk, he said, under enforcement, only half of the murders in Chicago get solved. I played it, you guys heard it, but I want to go back to that so I can knock out this point because I'm living in Chicago now, and I put some data that goes against what Charlie Kirk is saying about um half of the murders go unsolved and who are actually doing these murders specifically. So let's go to that timestamp, please.
In prison, like
Okay,
this is
good point. Why do you go to prison?
because you commit crime, but
Okay,
because
yeah.
the prison system has been targeted against minorities.
Again, we're not going to
for-
agree here.
Right,
And that's
we're
okay.
not. Yeah.
There's actually under enforcement of the laws when it comes where there's, for example, only half of murders in Chicago get solved.
Right, but are
that
are they
means-
all black people though?
Almost all of them. Yeah, like 80,
Well,
80
if they're not solved, how do we know that they're black people?
Well, because it's a black victim in a black neighborhood by a black gang. So it's
So-
like you can assume at a great approximation that in the west side of Chicago,
50% of the murders in Chicago that go unsolved are all black people.
not all.
dead in
No,
black.
I said 85%. But we don't know who the perp is. But again, if you have a black victim at 2 a.m. in a black neighborhood, it's reasonable to say that it was a black on black crime. 90% of murders after 2 a.m. in Chicago are black on black crimes. I'm from Chicago.
Right.
I happen to know it.
So-
right. But
so-
no, but like half.
You're not from Chicago, you're from Willing. You were from Willing. You're not from Chicago. That's first of all. So this is actually my favorite part of the video because Charlie Kirk is going to make my argument for me. He says that black neighborhoods are under police and crimes are going unsolved, which for the most part is true, right? Except about black neighborhoods. Charlie Kirk forgets that Chicago only solves about half of its murders entirely, not just in black neighborhoods, right? Chicago as a city itself has a clearance rate hovering right above 51% when it comes to homicide clearance. Now, before we run forward, we have to discuss whose murders don't get solved specifically, right? Now, when you go to Live Free Illinois, WTTW, right? They have all the source data there from the city. And when you run that source data through ChatGPT, it says that in Chicago, in white neighborhoods, right? We have 45, almost 50% of all the crimes, all the murders specifically, are solved. Whereas in the black neighborhood, it's 21%. So what does that really mean to me? What does that really mean to me? That means that the system solves murders in white neighborhoods at more than a double the rate. It was 45 versus 21%. Yeah, double the rate. This is based on y'all data, bro. Rest in peace to Charlie, but it's based on y'all data, bro. So you have black victims who get less than half of the justice. That's not justice. That's not equality. That's not American culture, or is it? That's not American values, or is it? What it actually is a system that is protecting people unequally based on zip codes, based on how much money you make. And the more accurate way, I gotta stop cursing, the more accurate term is socioeconomics. So based on, you have a system that's protecting people unequally based on socioeconomics, zip codes, race, which is the exact structural argument the student has been making this entire time to Charlie Kirk. You see, Charlie Kirk saw this evidence, he picked it up, waved it around, and never realized that he gave it to us. You're right, Charlie. You're right. Chicago does have a 51% clearance rate when it comes to homicides in Chicago. But you never talked about, when you go deeper into those stats, how homicides in the white communities are being solved double compared to the ones in the black neighborhoods. And when we start When we break down why that is, despite, according to Charlie Kirk, the black community being over policed, then we can have a more genuine conversation. Yes, I can't prepare. Didn't even want to do this video, but I gotta work. I like working, even though some of this stuff is fucking depressing. So we move on to timestamp 5 minutes and 8 seconds, where Charlie says, quote, I look at current black culture, the athletes, the rap music, white individuals being there, and women getting pregnant. Okay. So let's go to that timestamp right now. 5:08. So you can hear Charlie Kirk talk about rap music and why black women shouldn't be getting married. I mean pregnant. Excuse my DEI brain.
Is that the number one predictor for a kid of any skin color, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, is whether or not dad is around.
Right.
And I look as an outsider, albeit, at current black culture, right? From the athletes to the rap music to the music, I don't see the nuclear family elevated, nor is it an internal black cultural expectation. Now, I will ask some of the white individuals here in this audience, okay? If you guys got pregnant and all of a sudden you didn't even know who the father was around, how would your parents react? Not great, right? Yes. Unfortunately, in Black America, this is kind of accepted. Would you agree?
Damn. Hey guys. Hey, white women. If you got pregnant and didn't know who the daddy was, most of your parents wouldn't fuck with that. They wouldn't like that. But you blacks, that's your culture. Wouldn't you agree, student? This is Charlie Kirk's last hoorah, right? He says the nuclear family isn't elevated in the black culture, and his evidence is rappers and athletes. That's what he said. He said, look at black culture, the rappers, the athletes. Then he turns to the white kids in the room and asks, how would their parents react to them having a pregnancy without knowing the baby daddy? You have to catch that. He compares a media cartoon of Black America. You know what? I don't understand it, bro. When I say media cartoon, the media controls everything that black people do on the media. So when you look at rappers and athletes, they are nothing more than, I don't want to use the word coons, but you know, like the old cartoon, we had a black person shucking and jiving. That's how I think about a lot of celebrities, unfortunately. None of these people that Charlie was talking to are celebrities. These are real people. It's not even a comparison. In my opinion, this was a very, 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 very stupid thing to say, because that's like me judging white people off music and rap. Music and athletes are industry, right? They're not a reflection of how people are in real life. I can find you 1,000 black households where marriage is important. 1,000 black households where that shit is taken extremely fucking seriously. Where I can find 1,000 black holes where music isn't the number one thing that they think about and talk about every single day. And rappers or LeBron James. Charlie Kirk is a racist, right? Charlie Kirk is a racist. I want you guys to let me know, did this kid lose the argument? On the tape, you know, Charlie was trying to be calm, but the racism just was flowing through. The headline stat was inflated. His timeline was rigged. The 1964 part was rigged. He blamed the men in the beginning, but then he said the system removed the men for committing crimes. I just don't understand. Throughout this entire argument, Charlie Kirk did not present one fact. Not one. Not one. Y'all let me know, man. Do y'all want to see more Charlie Kirk single mother arguments broke down? Because I've had enough. I've made up my mind that I'm going to go after all of their heroes, starting with Charlie Kirk. He's at the top of the list now. So, Trader Truth Teller, all y'all can breathe for a minute. I'm putting Charlie Kirk at the top of the list. His legacy must be destroyed. And I'm going to be the one to do it. Let me know if y'all like this kind of breakdown, because I'm about to wrap up. If you want facts first, where I double check the facts, no bullshit, no music, just going straight into the comments, going straight into the content, and really breaking down what these races are saying about our people, then let me know in the comments below. Right? I'm not interested. And listen, if you want to send money, send money. But what I'm more interested in is conversations. And let me put it out here. I'm going to put this out at the end of every video. I'm looking for people who want to grow on YouTube. I'm looking for people who want to make it on YouTube. Okay? And let me tell you what that means. That means us having genuine conversations, not the ones like the one Fatty had with Andrew Wilson and Myron, where we're doing stuff to get views and we're getting stuff. No, we want to have genuine conversations, because the more impact we have in real life, the more impact we have on here. If you want to be a part of that, find a way to get in touch with me. Find a way. From there, we can continue to have more conversations. And don't let nobody send you to me for them. Try to think you about to set me up. That would be unwise. I have been your host, Darrel Long. I will see you guys on the next one.
Welcome to the Darrel Long Show, bringing you the best in commentary, vlogs, video essays, and reactions.